I fasted for 4 days straight and ended up heavier than when I started. Not heavier exactly the same, to the pound, 4 days of nothing and the number on the scale barely moved. I didn't understand it. I thought I'd done something wrong. Turns out I hadn't done anything wrong. The body was doing something right. Most people look at a plateau and think, not trying hard enough, eating something they shouldn't, need more willpower. That's the conventional framing. Effort in, results out. And if the result isn't there, the effort wasn't enough. I believed that for a long time. My own data eventually told me something different. First, the mechanism, what homeostasis actually is, why the body defends a weight the same way it defends your body temperature, and what that means for anyone who spent weeks doing everything right and gone nowhere. Then the data, because I've got a specific 4-day stretch where I can show you exactly what the body was doing while the scale wasn't moving. And it's not what most people assume. And third, the one thing that actually moves a defended set point. It's not more willpower. It's not trying harder. It's something most people have never been told about. And once you understand it, the plateau stops feeling like a wall and starts feeling like information. The conventional view on plateaus is simple. You've stopped losing weight because you've stopped doing what you were doing. Calories have crept up. Movement has dropped. You're cheating the plan without realising it. NHS guidance, most GP advice, most diet programmes, they all point to the same culprit, effort or lack of it. And on the surface, that makes sense. Eat less, move more, lose weight. If the weight isn't moving, something in that equation has changed. Here's where it gets interesting. There's a researcher, Guy Lazentia, a consultant neurologist at Guy's and St Thomas in London, who put it about as plainly as I've heard it put. The idea that body weight is simply a measure of willpower, he said, is something the research has clearly refuted. Feeding behaviour and body weight, in his words, are determined by a well-characterised physiological system, not character, not discipline, physiology. I believed the willpower story for most of my adult life. It took me years and lots of blood tests to start questioning it. When I finally had 4 days of documented water fasting with a scale barely moving, I had to start looking at what was actually going on. I was on a 4-day water fast. In the surrounding weeks, normal whole food eating, real food, maximum 20% flexibility for UPFs. Nothing dramatic, nothing that should have been holding me back. Day 1 of the fast, 14 stone 6 pounds. Day 2, 14 days 6 pounds. Day 3, 14 stone 6 pounds. And day 4, 14 stone 6.5. Half pound up, if anything. That is 4 days of a 0 calorific intake and a weight change of half a pound in the wrong direction. Now, I'd been tracking daily for 16, 17 months at this point, so I knew this wasn't a fluke or a bad morning. This was a sustained, documented plateau at a very specific number, 14.6. The body had been hovering around that point and it was holding it. Here's what I didn't understand at the time. What I was experiencing wasn't failure. It was the hypothalamus doing exactly what it's designed to do. The body has a defended weight, a number it considers normal and safe based on everything it knows about you, your history, your hormone profile, your stress levels, how long you've been at that weight. It's the same system that keeps your core temperature at 37 degrees. It doesn't just accept a new setting because you've decided you want one. It fights to maintain the one it already has. This is why, and this is the bit most people miss. On a fast, you cannot lose more than roughly a pound of actual fat per day. And it's probably 3/4. Not because fasting doesn't work, but because a pound of fat is roughly 3,500 calories. And that's the physiological ceiling. The rest of the weight that comes off during a fast, water, gut emptying, both of which come straight back on at refeed. The body returns to its defended point. That 4-day plateau wasn't me failing the fast. It was the body defending 14 stone 6, the same way it would defend your temperature if someone puts you outside in January in your boxer shorts. So what actually moves a defended set point? Not more willpower, not eating less for longer. I know because I've been doing that, and the 4-day water fast with no movement on the scale tells you everything you need to know about willpower's role in this. What shifts the defended weight is sustained metabolic signalling over time. consistent fasting, not just occasional, but as a pattern, whole food rather than UPF, which changes the hormonal environment gradually. A healthy refeed after a fast rather than going straight back to whatever triggered the set point defense in the first place. Not one big push, a consistent compounding signal that tells the body this new normal is safe. From June 15th, 25, I did a 21-day documented water fast. That's in the record. And looking at the daily data from that period onwards, the trajectory changed. Not because I'd tried harder, because the sustained signal was long enough and consistent enough that the defended weight started to shift. There's a practical honesty point here worth making. People see big numbers coming off during extended fasts and expect them to stay. They don't. The water comes back, the gut refills. What stays is the fat that was actually burned at that physiological ceiling of roughly a pound a day, probably a bit less. Everything else is temporary until the set point moves. Expecting instant permanent loss from a fast sets you up to misread what the data is actually showing. I spent 18 years running a business. I know how to build a system that works without you having to think about it every day. Turns out the same logic applies to your health. That's what this channel documents, what actually compounds what you get the inputs right. Subscribe if that's going to be interesting to you. What my data suggests, and it's one person's data, one body, 800 plus days of tracking now, is that plateaus are not evidence of failure. They are evidence of a system working. The body is not broken when it holds a number. It is actively, intelligently defending a position that it considers safe. The question isn't how to force it to change. It's how to give it enough consistent signal over enough time that it decides the new position is the safer one. This doesn't mean the conventional framing is useless. If someone genuinely has crept back to old patterns without noticing, and that does happen, then the effort in result out model is the right one. The calorie equation matters. Movement matters. The point isn't that willpower is irrelevant. It's that willpower alone cannot override a defended set point. Those are two different problems, and conflating them is where most people get stuck. If you're watching this and you haven't had a clinical conversation yet, if you're just noticing your body keeps returning to the same number, regardless of what you do, this mechanism is already running. You don't need a diagnosis for homeostasis to be at work. The set point defense system doesn't wait for a GP to name it. Understanding that now, before the clinical conversation starts, changes how you read your own data. A plateau isn't a verdict. It's information about where your body currently feels safe. One more thing. If you're thinking about extended fasting, any fast over 72 hours, the conversation is probably to have with your GP. If you want to follow this properly, the daily data, the fasting records, the blood test progression, everything is documented on this channel. 3 videos a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Subscribe so you don't miss the thread. Links in the description for the free guide, the 14-day rhythm reset, which covers the fasting, food and timing foundations in sequence, and the standard reminder, which I mean every time I say it. This is educational content only. It's not medical advice. Never start an extended fast or change your medication without talking to your GP first.